So I'm continuing. Well, after we run this regression for men and women specifically, we subtract the difference. I mean the difference of the ln WM male wage from ln WF female wage. So this is the difference. This is the wage gap. Well, we have when we subtract the two equations, we have something like A0M minus A0F, well, 0 term for M and 0 term for F, plus A1M times HM minus A1F times HF, human capital for man, human capital for women, and their coefficients. So now we are adding two factors, I mean two factors or to the equation, which is A1M times HF minus A1M times HF. So we take the coefficient of the man and the human capital level of the woman. But since I mean one of them is positive, one of them is negative, this should not have any effect on equation at any level. I mean for any individual or at individual level or at general level basically. So we added. When we add it, we have at the end of this term plus A1M times HF minus A1M times HF. So we take plus A1M times HM and plus A1M times HF. No, I'm sorry, minus A1M times HF, and create this term, A1M multiplied by HM minus HF. So we take this term and this term. Plus, for the remaining terms, minus A1F times HF plus A1M times HF. We write them in this way. The A1M is plus, A1F is minus. So we write it as HF plus A1M minus A1F, basically. So now we have one term which is showing the human capital differences between the two groups, and another term which is showing the differences between the returns to human capital, since H1M is the return to the man, I mean the return of male workers human capital increase, and A1F is the return to the female groups human capital increase. And this term basically show us the discrimination. That's one explanation of one possible explanation of this discrimination. Another explanation could be actually you can use human capital and you can see how much using human capital level the wage differences, different human capital. I mean you can just run the regression with the wage difference, and first you can look to the human capital differences and see how much the human capital differences are actually explaining the wage differences, and then you will be left with an unexplained term, and that unexplained term might be basically you might assume it is discrimination basically, since we cannot have a specific independent variable that represents discrimination. I mean, it's not easy. Sometimes discrimination can be detected, but degree of discrimination in numbers is, I mean, not possible to detect at this point, at least. The decomposition I have mentioned here with A1M and A1F is called Oaxaca decomposition. actually blinder Oaxaca, I believe, but you can also write Oaxaca in decomposition if you're interested. And the model basically separates the effect of human capital and the effect of returns to the human capital. By comparing effect of human capital and effect of returns to human capital, we might get idea on possible effect of the discrimination. And of course, the method is still subject to a lot of critique from both sides. I mean, some people think it is underestimating the discrimination. Which means actually discrimination found by this method is low. Other people think, other economists think, actually it is overestimating discrimination, which means discrimination found by this method is higher than actually it is in the actual economic system. Well, the underestimation group basically argues that, I mean, all these factors of the human capital, the education, experience, occupations, the jobs you can get, are also subject to discrimination. I mean, you might not be able to get education because the universities are not accepting, for example, black people or women, as well as you might not get experience because you cannot start with a company at the very beginning. And of course, the occupations, I mean, some occupations might have barriers. I mean, being part of a different, some ethnic groups might mean you cannot even have a chance to get into that occupation. As a result, I mean, all these factors themselves, I mean, the values of these variables, the variables get for different ethnic groups might also be highly dependent on discrimination. As a result, actually, by assuming these factors are independent of discrimination, Oaxaca decomposition might be finding the discrimination lower than it actually is. I mean, the effect of discrimination on wage lower than it actually is. Underestimation, overestimation group, on the other hand, argues actually there might be some other factors like job characteristics, for example. I mean, women might be, or certain groups might be working in jobs which are more comfortable, which might be more easy to perform. Maybe it might be, I mean, the wages are weekly, daily, or hourly, which means actually the wage differences don't depend on the working time, but they might still depend on the flexibility. I mean, certain jobs might be more flexible. You might work anytime you want. You might basically get permissions to not for a day more easily, and as a result, the wage you got from an hourly work might be smaller. So these unseen factors actually may make the discrimination measured by Oaxaca decomposition too high. So those are the critiques, and these are some values. Actually, these are just the wage differences of different groups. All males and females, it has decreased from 0.74, increased from 0.74 to 0.77. I mean, relative wage women are getting relative to men. The lowest wages actually get by, if you look, black females and white females, actually, you have Hispanic females, white females, black males, white males, Hispanic males, white males. You don't have black females and black males, which would be actually also interesting. I mean, the gender gap in different groups of in different ethnic groups themselves. But when you look Hispanic males and white males, this is the lowest group, 0.605, and it has increased just to 0.63 to 623. Black males, white males, it is 0.739 to 0.749. 30.3. Black females, interestingly, Hispanic females and white females, the difference is less than, and also for the black females and white females, the difference is less than the male ratios. But in case of black females, white females, it has almost remained the same at 0.87. And in case of Hispanic females, white females, it has increased slightly from 0.7 to 0.74 between 1998 to 2010. And these are some gender gap numbers in different countries. These are earnings, by the way, which means it looks the whole year. So in the USA, it has fallen to 0.654 because women might not be working maybe full time or full week or all time in the year. The lowest is United Kingdom, 0.614, and highest is Australia, 0.733. I think this is the data from 2010. So when this method is applied to the Osaka decomposition method was applied to the black and white differences. In the previous data you have just seen the differences. Actually, the wage gap between the two groups have decreased from 0.829 to 0.955. Similar thing happened also for the Hispanic group, although I didn't write it here. So basically, according to Osaka decomposition method, actually, the role of discrimination in wage gap is small, around around 4.5%, basically. Maybe not completely, still important, but not as significant as it seems first. Although again, the question might become whether the occupational differences, education differences, and the experience differences are playing. In those cases, the discrimination also play a role. But if there's a role in those things, in that case, discrimination is more effective through those channels. Through the channels of occupation and education, rather than much less discrimination exists when we are looking to the wage differences of the black and white people at the same occupation and with the same education level. For women, on the other hand, this is not that case. In case of women, the gender differences, Osaka method shows that there is actually an important effect of the discrimination has an important effect. This shows actually what are the factors that have been effective in made by, you can see who made the research, and it's a really interesting research. So it looks to the wage difference, how much the wage gap has changed from 1979 to 1988, there's a decrease which is equal to 15%. So what contributed to this decrease? So observed characteristics, the human capital characteristics, they have been effective in decreasing. Distributional characteristics are also effective in decrease, which means wage distribution was in a way that it increases the gap, probably because it was more evenly distributed in case of women, but in case of men, there are more men in the high positions. Now women also have high positions, that which actually decrease the wage gap. Unobserved effects are here. Observed prices are here. Actually, when you look to the observed prices, the discrimination, the effect of the human capital characteristics, they had actually did not contribute to decrease. They actually hindered the decrease. So discrimination actually has increased according to this research between 1979 and 1988. Anyway, let's stop here for this part Let's continue the next part.